Welcome, dirty peasants, to Wartwood Gazette, the Amphibia podcast. This is episode 46, and we are covering Amphibia Season 2, Episode 6, Marcy at the Gates. I'm your host, Thembaticon, and joining me today we have Sunsfury,
Hello.
Nick,
What's up, y'all?
and Lemur.
Hello, everybody.
Alright, thanks guys for coming on. News this week, we got...
Pop shells.
Yeah, so we got the remaining episodes of Season 3. I mean, if you're listening to this, you probably already know. At the time of recording, we're actually going to do another recording tomorrow because there's a lot to unpack, and we'll cover the episodes there. Other than that, we also had, about a little over an hour ago, Gallery Nucleus announced that they're having a unofficial exhibition/fan celebration, featuring a live Q&A panel with the show creator Matt Brawley. It's also going to be streamed live on Twitch. Panel tickets available March 19th at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and the event is actually going to be on April 23rd. I think those are all the news. With that, we can go right into the episode, Marcy at the Gates, which was written by Matt Brawley and Adam Colas, storyboards by Aaron Austin, Anna O'Brien, Eddie West, and Cassie Zwart, and directed by Joe Johnson and Jen Strickland.
Fun fact: this is the only episode that Matt Brawley has ever written for season 2.
This was I think the last episode he's written for the show so far.
Show. Yeah.
So, a lot to uncover, a lot to unpack in this episode. Planners arrive to Utopia, Marcy gets introduced, the mission to stop the barbarians from invading Utopia. They journey down into the tunnels dug by them to flush them out with some stink shrooms. Of course, the ants detect them, they get in a fight, Sprig gets swallowed, and then Marcy has to save him. And then the episode ends with them in Utopia, figuring out what to do next without Sasha. And of course, Andreas gets that last scene with the flipwort board. And yeah, Marcy at the Gates was a fantastic episode. This was the road trip ended last week with Wax Museum. This is the transition, because we don't get into Utopia until the end of the episode. So yeah, I really enjoyed how they were always they didn't enter the city until the end of the segment. I just like that. And of course, Marcy's introduced, and that's a whole other discussion. And yeah, this is just a really great episode showing off Marcy's character, and especially since season 1 did not, she was the odd one out at the time, but that's changed, which is great. Starting with Sunsfury, what were your thoughts on Marcy at the Gates?
So, I think at some point in time down the line, Matt Braley described Marcy at the Gates as one of the most important episodes of the show, because this introduces Marcy, and if they didn't get it right, if this episode didn't work out, then the rest of Amphibia would not work. And in retrospect, looking at everything that's happened so far and how it's made us all feel, I think Marcy at the Gates did exactly what it needed to do. It did it very well. I think all around, it's the right introduction for a character like Marcy. And that's the best you can ever have it as. So yeah, good.
All right, thank you, Sunsfury. Nick, what were your thoughts?
I mean, I pretty much agree with everything that's already been said. Like, fantastic episode, one of Amphibia's best. Just does. I mean, I always praise Amphibia for like solidly introducing new characters, like especially the important ones. And yeah, this is probably like, I think outside of Andreas, I think this is probably my favorite. Like introduction to the cast. Like just Marcy, like they just land it perfectly with her. Like just from the very first moment you see her, you just love this girl, and it's just so well done this episode.
All right, thank you, Nick. Lemur, what were your thoughts on Marcy at the Gates?
This is, without exaggeration, one of my favorite episodes of the show and one of my favorite episodes of all time. I love this episode so much, and I'm without going through everything. I just think in terms of like perfect, like in terms of like structure and pacing, there has never been an episode that has even come close to the perfection that Marcy at the Gates has had. This episode did not waste any time when it comes to accomplishing all the goals that it did. And not only did it excellently, but they did not waste any second of it. And like considering, and not only is it a perfect one of my favorite episodes of all the show. Like what's I also am gonna echo what Sunsfury said. It's like this is also one of the most important episodes of the show, and not only in terms of like the story of it, but also in the long term outside, like when it comes to like the fandom and how the show was perceived in general. So yeah, uh Marcy at the Gates is a very fantastic episode. I love it to death. Even I still love it till this day.
All right, thank you, Lemur. So we can just start going through the episode. It really does. The episode immediately starts out with like Sprig looking at the map and Anne looking at her photo of Marcy and Sasha, and that kind of really sets up the. I guess that kind of like. Of course, since we know the episode's called Marcy at the Gates, we know like what we're going to see. It would have been nice to like in another world where we could just have like a random funny frog title, like a like a frog pun, and then just like have
And
and like think about Marcy, and this all of a sudden Marcy shows up, and but we have promos,
trailers
we have trailers, we have uh, the
and
press
clip.
release synopsis. But it's nice how they start off this episode. And then, of course, when Ant's talking about Marcy, like Sprig has to bring up Sasha because that's his only reference he has on Ant's friends.
Yeah, that's the only other human beings met too, right? Pretty much
Yes.
Sasha.
Yeah,
So you can't say, yeah, you really can't blame Sprig for his suspicions in this episode. I mean, it's not just because of him fearing Sasha, but also because he doesn't want to see Anne get hurt again.
yeah, and that'll come up later on too.
Yeah, of course.
And then, oh, of course, this is where we get the like the first like our first introduction of Marcy, which is back on Earth, and it's like kind of a montage, and we hear Marcy's theme for the first time. It's really great.
It's really nostalgic too. Like even so, it's not even so. It's just the second season, right? The second season and 3 second in a 3 season story. It still somehow just feels like I guess it calls back to a more peaceful time where like things are getting more hype, but like the stakes were still not that high. I guess like that's the sort of feeling I get from just watching that opening.
Yeah. Also, Amphibia. If there's one thing that Amphibia it's flashbacks, because they don't overindulge in those. Like they don't extend their flashback scenes, but when they do, like they're just short. But when they happen, they give us so much information. And again, Marcy at the Gates is another prime example of that.
Yeah, because I just it. Yeah, I will say it did give us like the insight that a lot of this fandom speculated on Marcy and Sasha's relationship that they ended up getting right. Right, like they saw the contrast, like they saw contrasting hobbies between like Marcy and Sasha, and just sort of interest in like whatever each other were doing. Right, like they were mostly ignoring each other. So it's yeah, I know. I mean, it's yeah. There's a lot to take from this flashback.
Yeah. Also, I want to say the VA work and this VA work. I've said this multiple times in the podcast before, but again, I have to say the VA work for Marcy is really really good. Haley Ju was the perfect person to voice act this character.
And I was kind of surprised, like I rewatched this episode a few times. I think like I watched it maybe in like a few months ago, and then a few days ago I was kind of watching it a little bit more carefully about like how like I was trying to be a little bit more like critic like when I was watching it a few days ago. But uh, am I saying her name right? Haley Tiju?
I pronounce it as Haley Chu.
Haley Chu.
Haley Chu. Haley
Yeah.
Chu.
Yeah, because I noticed how like she's not that. I was kind of like I remembered her like performance in Marcy the Gates as like kind of like loud and like in a good way. Like I don't I like I remember being like really energetic, but a lot of the scenes she's pretty like calm and collected. Except it's just it's a nice balance. It's not like we know she's like the nerdy gamer character, but she's not like she doesn't rub me the wrong way like compared to like other characters that try to like over exaggerate that kind of aspect of their personality. So I was happy like with how like natural it was.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean it's part of what made her such an easy hook to so many people in the fandom. Like it was just yeah. I mean, I guess a lot of I guess a lot of people love the game. The gamer girl aspect of Marcy, but it's like they just found the right balance. You know what I mean? Like they didn't make that her entire personality, which is just really well done.
I think the gamer aspect is just one aspect of her character. It's like it's mostly predominantly the smart girl, just that. And it's like I mean, it's kind of interesting because when you think about like smart people, you always think that they're collected and calm and like calculated. But Marcy is kind of a mixture of the. It's kind of a mixture of that, but also it's also energetic at the same time. Like she's very into everything that she does.
And for these flashbacks, like not only do we get Marcy's personality, we also get how Anne reacts around her, and I guess how like the episode is like trying to point out very early on how much like Anne kind of tries to take care of Marcy and keep an eye on her.
Yeah, because she's a klutz.
Yeah. No, plus it's just. I mean, damn. I used to. You know the little scene of like Sasha ignoring Marcy and just telling her that like she's gonna get herself killed one day. Like I used to think that was just a really cold to Sasha, but now it's like, well, what we've been told by Matt how those two like interact. It's sort of like, you know what I mean? Like it kind of makes sense now. I know there's still like I guess they still call each other like maybe good friends, but it's like you know you can sort of see where that negligence comes from here.
Like no, I still think Sasha cares about Marcy. It's just that Sasha just
It's just those
it's
different personalities contrasting naturally.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's probably like she's already used to Marcy's
Shenanigans.
clumsiness.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
and then yeah, so Anne's always looking after her. Marcy's smart but oblivious a little bit. Not oblivious, just like yeah, a little bit careless. And yeah, that's what the flashback tries to show. And then like Anne like points out like, oh, like back home I was able to look after her, but like now she doesn't she's alone in Amphibia, like that's what Anne thinks, and then of course Sprig kind of doesn't help the situation by pointing out how
As
many
usual.
Yeah, what a chat. I mean, it's great. Like, what's the second time he's done in this series so far? Like, ignoring like the obvious tension and and just making a fool out of himself. Like, you love to see it. You love to see it. I
Sprig
can't
does that
wait
job
for
very well.
yeah.
I
I'm
like how
still waiting on Sprig's post True Colors reaction. Still waiting for it, Sprig.
I like how when Anne brings up that Marcy's like a klutz, Sprig is like, oh, that's too bad, drops his glass of water.
Yeah, that was really funny. It's really funny.
Uh,
Yeah,
those I was gonna say those two are kind of similar in a way.
yeah, I was about to say the same. And then we get like right when Anne and Sprig finish their conversation, that's when Polly comes up. Like that's when Polly arrives and just tells them to like come outside, and we get that first shot of Newtopia, and we got in the trailer too. But like hearing the music like swell as like all the planners like run up to the ledge, it was a really nice feeling. Like
Yeah.
this is what we've been like traveling to, or like this is
5
what we've been.
episodes for.
Plus, yeah, the 5 weeks of waiting. I mean, just to get there, like, yeah. Yeah, make it probably
Yeah.
make it 6 weeks, honestly. Like I guess so, I mean it's a 6 episode in season 2, but yeah, it's like that moment felt so rewarding. We didn't even get inside the city, right? Like we just got a nice shot of the city from far away, but it was just so gorgeous.
Yeah, I remember the contemporary reactions to like to that scene. It's like we're like everybody is just so hyped to get to Utopia, and it's crazy that like I guess after like a year and a month of waiting is just it's finally here. It's so good. It's very cathartic in a way.
Right, especially in like in at the D23 Expo in like 2019, we got that first shot of the planners looking out in the distance, and Newtopia is like the end goal, and yeah, like yeah,
Yeah.
that was one of the things that was like keeping us like energized throughout that hiatus.
Crazy how things change.
And I like how like they have like the sun reflect off of the top structure of the castle, which we later find out is the death laser. But
Ain't that great?
yeah,
I,
that thing on top just like always confused us for a while. Like,
yeah, I was gonna point that out. Like some people like didn't really know what was the purpose of the top part of the castle. I thought it was just like a fancy ass roof or something.
I mean, everyone did.
Yeah.
I don't think we were really set up to believe it could possibly be a giant death laser.
well,
Well,
in my defense, like I think
there's one.
like because that weird arm thing, like some people, including myself, like as a joke, we were like, "Oh, that's a trigger for like a gun," and then it was a
Oh,
laser.
including yourself.
Shout out to Princess Cthulhu for pointing that out.
Hey, I also brought it up too, but you know,
And thumbs.
Oh,
And thumbs.
when was this? When was? I don't remember you.
wait, okay, I don't want to search it up now, but like I remember saying like the cat that Amphibia is a giant spaceship, and then the Utopia is like the control panel.
Wow. Damn.
But
Yeah, that's pretty
How close
close.
that is.
yeah, and this was 2A. This was back in 2A. It was that was back when I was like still like I had enough time to like actually like write in the chats before I came up with like a podcast just so I'd have an excuse not to type words. But but
Hey, I mean, things have gone pretty well, all right?
but yeah, and then so yeah, we saw the castle and we immediately I like how they added the wind effects. That's when you know like it's supposed to be a special moment when like the characters like hair and hat and stuff actually
Yeah.
move around.
Yeah, it's like the little touches. Like it's like, damn. You know, it's just the presence of this moment is just overwhelming. Yeah. It's a teeny tiny touches like that.
Yeah, and then they do the immediate they do that like classic jump into the air pose and then immediately cuts to them just like walking through the water, like the shallow water. And I like how they intentionally like zoom out just to show like the scale of how like small they are compared to like the nothingness around them between them and Utopia.
I just really love how all the plants are just like, you know, like they're sort of having fun walking through the water. Like it just feels like, yeah, like I feel like there's the joke of like cutting from like such a grand reveal to them to them trudging through the water, but there's also just this, you know, joyful feeling, I guess, of finally getting here. Like Polly's just floating in the water, all Sprig's running around having fun. Like it's just, you know, it's just so rewarding to be here.
Yeah, meanwhile, Anna's complaining that her shoes are no silk.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's true. I
it's
forgot.
her fault for wearing socks, wearing just a sock.
The dreaded wet socks. Worst form of torture imaginable.
Uh,
I was very. I mean, I wasn't very. I'm not. I'm gonna be very surprised if that shoes stayed dried all like from the duration of the road trip arc.
but yeah, Nick, like you said earlier, like the players enjoying. Like I like how Polly's like floating along the water and Sprig's like just running through. Yeah, it's just like a cute moment. And then of course, Polly bumps into the barbarian
Holes.
atoll, and then like she makes that joke about like it's going to come back later.
Yeah, that's literally Amphibia's foreshadowing. Like that's how they how they use foreshadowing. They don't like they very directly tell you what's going to matter, and they tell you to make sure you pay attention to it.
Mm.
Yeah, so they.
So
Oh, go ahead, Lemur.
no, I was gonna point out the next scene where we met Matt Bradley Newt.
Yeah, the tower guard, and Matt makes his voice like a little extra like nasally, and
Yeah, that was just great. No,
He
the
didn't
music
even
too. The music too to the scene, like it like it's just so. I mean, damn. I mean, they really knocked it out of the park almost every segment of this episode. I mean, Jesus.
didn't even recognize that it was Matt's voice. Like, it was very distinct from his normal one.
yeah, I think he kind of
Yeah, I
did.
guess you can't. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, he uses the same kind of voice in season 3 for Sprig's birthday when they like have like a character like a background character that looks like a lot like him when he makes the chili dog line. He uses like a similar
Oh
voice.
yeah, yeah. That was just a dumb joke. Yeah, I remember that.
But yeah, so
Yeah, but oh, go
oh
ahead, go
no,
ahead.
go ahead, Nick.
I mean, I was just gonna say, I guess like, I mean, did you guys initially notice that was Matt's voice? Because I know like I couldn't really tell, like you know what I mean. I couldn't really get like the feeling that was Matt voicing the new until I was like basically told like it was him, right? Like I couldn't really like hear his voice in that.
No, I found out later.
Oh,
I was today years old.
Oh,
damn, really?
Yeah, I did not recognize that voice as Matt's too.
I like how he like struggles to close the door and he almost falls out, and Polly's just
Yeah.
laughing at the guy. Or not laughing, just like giggling and yeah, oh Polly.
Great. Again, it's crazy to me how different Polly is now. Yeah, from a season ago.
No, she's still like. I mean, in season
Yeah,
if this was in season 3, I think she would still have a similar reaction.
yeah. But like, I still think, yeah, yeah. You're right. You're right.
So then, yeah. So then the Brawley Newt mentions the until that Newtopia's closed until the barbarians go away, and of course that's when it shows up to grab Sprig, and then and then and then they they get that quick like little fight, and the
I,
planners
I
all
always
I,
love. I
I
always love
forgot.
seeing. I always
I,
love seeing the family throw down together like that. It's just so good.
I forgot that Sprig being tortured in this episode was a running gag.
yeah, I think it happens like 3 times.
Yeah, 3 times. Yeah.
So then, yeah, they all team up against that one barbarian, but then of course more show up, and then just when they think they're about to get overwhelmed, the like a bunch of like I'm guessing some sort of oil since it floats on the water, and then it gets lit up, and the fire scares the barbarians away, and then the hooded figure like launches a grappling crossbow arrow and like comes down to meet them, and then they're all like all the planners and Anne are like, oh, that Newt's so cool, and then of course the rope snaps, and then we like of course we know it's Marcy, and then we see the characters realize this as well, and that's when we get our first introduction to Marcy in the present day. And before
Yeah.
we get into
I
that, this is probably a good time to talk about like the crew was hyping Marcy's appearance with Lord Have Marcy Week, the hashtag, and
oh,
yeah,
oh god, Lord of Marcy week. Oh
yeah. So
man.
like the crew like posted like a bunch of like fan art. Most of it was like kind of like stoic looking art, and Haley Taju like recorded a clip on like Disney TVA's Twitter account, and like the art by the crew like painted a very different picture of like what Marcy would be like in the in the segment.
I had a feeling if we never had if we never had the trailer, this would be the Marcy at the Gates in general would be the first actual look that we had towards like Marcy's character, and I kind of wish that they didn't give that leak early. They didn't give the clip early.
Yeah, Disney released like the first 2 or 3 minutes of Marcy the Gates, and not the first 2 or 3 minutes, but like a chunk that like fully that revealed like the whole like the whole first like reunion between Anne and Marcy, and luckily yeah, like I decided to just avoid that at the time because it was like a day before.
Yeah, I remember I was actually gonna check out the clip. My little brother slapped my phone out of my hand right before. Like I was watching it and I was about to get to the Marcy reveal. And my little brother was like, "No!" And he slapped my phone right out of my hand and stopped me. But yeah, I was tempted because just like the hype for Marcy was just so much.
It was crazy. And I was there firsthand too. I saw pretty much all of it. I remember going to Matt Brawley's like Twitter page and seeing all the fan art that he posts and Babe. And also going to the hashtag too. It was a wonderful time.
Yeah, it was nice to see like the crew go all out. I mean, even every week they would we're lucky enough to have we're lucky enough to get a bunch of crew art and promotional posters, and it's nice to see them like even go like to spoil us even more with all this Marcy art.
Yeah, yeah, and I gotta say, Lord of Marcy week might be the hypest week that that the show ever had. My personal opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, we also.
Oh, sorry. Go
I,
ahead.
I,
Lee.
want to say. I want to say True Colors so bad, but we
I
all
mean,
know what happens. We all know what
yeah,
happens. I
yeah.
wanna
Like
say
if
that.
True Colors did like launch and like May 1st when it officially aired, yeah, I would say the True Colors week is the hypest week. But since it didn't happen, yeah, Lord of Marcy week still has to shine for that.
I mean, True Colors still had like the hype week. It's just like the ending was
Yeah.
Yeah, if the end,
Yeah.
if the
Yeah.
ending landed, yeah,
Yeah.
it would have been
Oh,
bigger.
I feel like that was like
yeah.
the crew was just explosive for that week. But yeah, just I guess enough about it.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
back to Marcy the Gates, like yeah, Lord Have Mercy was great.
Mhm.
And then yeah, like back to the episode, like our first introduction of Marcy in the present day is her like falling into the water and pulling out her book to like make notes about like how to improve her crossbow like her I guess her grappling arrow and whatever, and she's not like and immediately can recognize Marcy's voice and personality without even seeing her, which is nice. And then of course like we get like the tearful reunion between the two. It's really like a wholesome moment.
Yeah, it's really sweet because I know they didn't hype up the idea of Anne reuniting Marcy too much going into 2A, but I mean, well, we have the trailer, but I know just if you just keep 2A itself in mind, I know they didn't hype it up too much besides like that one mention of and what Handy Ann, but like it's still like the moment is just really emotional. Like honestly, probably like one of Amphibia's most emotional moments because it's just like the pure happiness of seeing Anne just reunite with someone who meant so much to her, and just having these two girls just cry over each other. It's just really sweet. It's really sweet.
Yeah, I agree.
They're just so
There,
happy.
there is another side to that, but we'll probably get to that later.
Oh right, like later on the episode, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you get
Uh,
oh go ahead, Lemur.
no, yeah. I was gonna point out the next scene. Yeah, the next scene with the planters with
Oh right,
yeah with Hop Hop and Polly saying, "Ah, that's adorable." And then there's Sprig.
oh Sprig. Okay,
Chad.
like
Oh
at the
god.
I know I'm gonna keep holding off on how Sprig's comments have aged, but yeah, like in the moment, Sprig being extremely suspicious of like we get this like really like wholesome reunion between the girls, and we can just tell how like how emotional Anne is about it, and we see like Pop Up and Polly like touched by the moment, and then there's Sprig who just
The most condescending and judgmental stare that I have ever seen.
And like we remember how like when they first met Sasha, how like Sprig welcomed Sasha with open arms, and she pretty much like turned him, like
Dismisses him.
rejected him the very moment she
Yeah.
saw him. And after that
Yeah.
moment, Sprig has just put up a wall between anyone who looks like Anne but isn't Anne.
It's crazy. Like, it's really interesting how different Sprig reacted to those two characters, because one hates frogs and the other loves frogs, or at least interested in like but other species.
I mean, that first impression of
Yeah,
Anne's
like,
friends.
but yeah, yes, Sasha. Sasha didn't do any favors for Sprig.
Yeah, so Sprig. So yeah, Sprig is suspicious, and then of course, uh,
And
we get the
think-
first uh, flaming cloak joke. Another one of the three.
yeah, like I think, yeah, it's like Anne commented that Marcy is some sort of like warrior queen, warrior queen or something. And then oh yeah, there's another joke where like Marcy is like showing her crossbow. It's like, it's nuts. Look at this, look at this tool, and she pointed it right in her face. Yeah, she pointed the crossbow right into Anne's face.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
I'm also looking at the episode. Like I'm looking through the episode as well, and Marcy kind of comments about on how she's like how like Marcy has grown in Amphibia, and in her words, leveled up in a way.
Yeah, no,
it
no
was
no more clumsy Marcy.
And
yeah.
then we get the
It's
cape
always
on
been
fire.
interesting-
Oh, sorry, Nick. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah. No, I was gonna. It's always been interesting to think about that line, and like especially after like where we are now. It's just I think personally, in like my view, I do believe she did grow in a way, but it's. I mean, I think what happened here is that she did experience growth, but then no, she regressed. Like she went back to like her bad habits that brought her here in the first place. Essentially, like
Like,
that's how I've always sort of reflect on that line.
yeah, I do think Marcy, like, we weren't able to see it, but Marcy did like get, like, she did improve in some regards, like maybe in terms of like strategy and getting around. And I think like we see how like quickly she's picked up on like how quickly she picked up on like all the different kinds of, I don't want to say fighting, maybe more like
Survival skills.
survival skills. Yeah, she learned about like all the herbs and all the history of Amphibia. So she's like immersed herself in this world really quickly, and that's one of her
Plus,
strengths.
plus she's more alert on stuff she's more alert when she showcases the true colors, where she was the one who immediately went after Sprig when he's falling from the castle and stuff. Yeah. So Marcy did grow in some ways. Like, she's more capable now than when she was back to Earth. But I feel like her growth contained contained in a like it's contained with lies. Like, it's like manufactured in some way. Like,
Like
yeah, she did.
hollow.
Yeah, like she did grew, but like not near to the point that it's not out of Andreas' control, which we will get to later.
Right. And Chuck brought up a good point about like the uniform analysis. And yeah, our first look at Marcy is she hasn't kept just her uniform like Anne, and she hasn't completely like gotten rid of it like Sasha. Like, it's kind of like a hybrid of both, where she has like her Newtopia stuff or her amphibia armor like around her old uniform, which is nice. So she hasn't completely, even though she's immersed herself in amphibia, she hasn't like thrown away whatever she had on Earth.
Yeah.
And yeah, like you guys said about how like Marcy has like grown in some ways, but she hasn't really. Well, at this point in time, we didn't see how much she progressed in maybe emotionally. It
Yeah, I mean,
was
Yeah.
it kind of made sense in terms of the story. I can get why they would hold off from that, but actually, I'm kind of thinking about like Marcy's introduction at this point in the series. Maybe I'll save that for later, but
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. I have a few things to say about that, but
I
right,
mean, I mean, I guess just one last thing for me. I'm just thinking about the fact that, like, I mean, I do. I mean, what I just find funny is just like she still spent her first 3 months in Amphibia away from Anna and Sasha. So I do believe in a way she did learn to live a life without them, but like emotionally, like you said, them like she never really confronted her feelings on that. Like, sure, she managed to like create a life for herself and flourish without their constant presence around, but like she never did lose her, I guess her reliance on them in a way.
yeah, but like she did try, but she just had the wrong people to help her.
right, and I mean, like going on with the episode, like we get our first introduction with Marcy and the planners, and again
Marcy.
she shows her knowledge of amphibia, where she can immediately identify that Hop Hop is from Frog Valley just by the dirt in his head.
Nice. Marcy's nerd rants are like are seriously the best. I miss it. I miss them so much.
I like how the measuring tape like squishes Hop Hop's head, and he's like, "Up, yup, all brain," and then
Yeah.
his like eyes like pop
All
out.
brain. All brain.
Oh, they're so iconic to her as a character.
Yeah. Oh, plus, I mean, Christ, I mean, just like that one little line where, yeah, Marcy mentions that Sprig is well, like she never saw a frog this color parade,
Wait,
right? Is that
Nick. Before we get to Sprig, we gotta talk about Polly.
Ollie,
oh
yeah.
yeah. All right, I don't care what
Yeah.
anyone says. This confirms it was 6 months by the time they get back there. I don't care. I'll put it out right now. I don't give a damn what anyone else has to say. It's 6 months.
Yeah,
It's 6 months.
I don't know why the
It's six
show
months.
said 5 months when like Reunion told us 3 months later, and then the road trip took like a month,
A month.
and then here
Yeah.
Polly's legs grow in 2 months. So it's like it's
Uh,
6.
uh, unless Marcy counts the road trip 1 month, and then
But
the another month is like the second.
I
But
mean,
again, that makes no sense.
yeah, because like Marcy doesn't know how long they've been traveling, so she would just be talking about the moment now.
Yeah. I don't know if just a retcon from Matt's part. I don't know. The timeline in the show is weird.
Maybe, just maybe. I have a thought. Maybe it
All right.
wasn't the biggest of concerns, so they didn't worry too much about getting everything perfect.
Nah, that's not it.
That's not how Amphibia fans do it, Sunsfury. We have to be 100% accurate at everything.
The calendar. Think about the calendar. And the internet video of the Let's Play thumbnail in like in the bottom right of that laptop screen in a 1080 by 720 like quality quality picture.
Oh,
But yeah,
oh,
so
yeah.
I really liked like Polly. I think we kind of felt it at the time where Marcy bringing up Polly's legs. That was like a countdown timer.
Yeah, because I know.
Mhm.
Damn, I was really. It's such like the littlest thing, but like for I don't know for I guess for a character like Polly, man, you can't help but be excited. Like just the idea of her growing legs, just I guess growing up, like it's yeah. I really wanted to see them. Like oh, and I know Matt like totally. Oh no, I brought up in the last podcast. I don't need to break up here, but yeah, like, I'm
Actually,
just
wait.
glad it actually, I'm just glad the show actually followed through with it. You know, like because back then I still wasn't. I was like, well, are we gonna get the legs or like what's? Are we serious? Is this supposed to gonna happen? Like I
Shut
still wasn't
in.
really sure.
Yeah,
Also,
Yeah,
wait, I have a thought. What if Polly's legs grew like early? Like it's not active. Yeah. What if Polly's legs grew early before her Jew did?
no idea.
I mean, it could be possible. Maybe that's why. Yeah, maybe that's why it's 5 months.
nope.
I mean,
Nope.
they
Don't
would
let
have
them.
said it would come early. I don't. I'm not gonna think too hard
Nope.
about it anymore. But yeah, that was just a nice moment for Polly, and it was a really when they showed like when they showed Marcy holding Polly up into like the light. I'm guessing like Polly's like semi-transparent or translucent. If she could see all the organs.
Oh yeah, that was unneeded. Like Amphibia, that was unneeded. You didn't need to
What
show
do
me
you
all
need,
that.
bro? Nah, that was very necessary
Like
to see.
I saw things I didn't want to see that day.
And then I guess like
Uh,
they showed like the legs like growing inside of Polly. So like maybe like all this time she's bouncing around is like pretty much her legs like inside just like pushing her.
Huh. I guess
yeah.
that. Oh, I mean,
I mean, I don't
sounds
no, I
disgusting,
don't know
but
how frog
I
biology
believe you on
works,
that.
but
No, you just created that cursed imagery in my mind. That's sick.
wait, how else is she
That's
supposed to
sick.
move around? Like she doesn't just like she
Oh,
doesn't have a jet engine inside her. Like what do you
you,
like what other explanation is there?
you, like,
I mean, hey, it's not it's disgusting, but it's accurate. That's science for you, Nick.
Yeah, and then we get to of course like Nick. I cut you off earlier, but yeah, Sprig and the pink
Marcy.
the pink mention.
yeah. I was just gonna think about like that spawned off so not even just a pink frog, but like that spawned off so many theories, right? Like that one little line created so much like well didn't some people start speculating that he was related to Yunnan or something like
Yeah.
Yunnan was his
Yeah, like
mom
she,
there's
yeah, like he's half nude.
yeah like oh like that just feels kind of nostalgic in a way I guess but yeah I like the fact that we now have a sort of clear idea of where they're going with that but yeah it was just pretty interesting to think about that.
It's also crazy, like like a frog has never had a pink color before, though, even though there is one in the past. Like, I don't think that's a coincidence.
I guess maybe it was just like a really rare thing because I know Marcy said that she hasn't seen a frog his color, but then keep in mind that Newtopia is a mostly
Newt city.
newt
Yeah.
populated
Mm.
city. So Sprig already being
Yeah,
like a rare
true.
color and then being in a city with less frogs probably makes it even more unlikely to see someone like Sprig.
Yeah, fair point.
And then also of course
Yeah I
like
guess
uh just to,
yeah.
in terms of like character design, just making Sprig like the only pink frog just makes him stand out more.
Yeah. So I guess there's also like Marcy's research you can factor in. I mean, honestly, I have no clue what were in those texts, but I think I could see like, yeah, I think I could sort of see like what motivated her her thinking here.
Right, and the poisons thing could be like a reference to how the planners were based on poison dart frogs.
Oh yeah, yeah, and I feel like that fact also like kind of like soft confirms that they're all because I know that's also like a popular theory too, right? Like that like what that they're adopted, like Hop Pop's adopted children when it's like no, I mean they're poison dart frogs, right? Like they can be orange, pink, sort of purple. Like
Actually,
there's just soft confirmation related.
a pink frog is not like there's never been a pink frog before. I looked it up and like apparently
Wait,
like
what?
anything online is like not real. But there's like orange dart frogs and I just don't think purple and pink.
No, no way. You're
Like, there are
messing with me
no
right now. You're messing
wait,
with
there are
me.
no actual pink frogs in like IRL?
Yeah.
What?
Really?
Wait,
Oh, that's
wait.
oh wow, that's actually crazy.
What? Pink
Hmm.
frog? What? What?
Pink frogs do not exist. Wow. Okay, I did not know that. All right.
Uh,
Huh.
so I guess that really, I mean, we know that like Amphibia, I mean, like we know the crew really does pay attention to the frogs facts, right? I mean, like they really look into it when
Yeah,
it comes to designing the world. So it's like,
it's
wow, you
deliberate.
can really see why, yeah, why they. I mean, doesn't that come on? Doesn't that tell you something? Does that not tell you like what's going on here? I know it's like I know it's very off the nose here, but like, come on, I'm waiting
Yes,
for that
Sprig.
reveal. I'm
Yes,
waiting for that reveal.
Sprig. Yes, Sprig is loyalty, Nick. Yeah, that's the
I'm waiting for that reveal. I need that like that reveal's coming. I believe it even more now.
And then like Hop Hop is based on the poison dart. And okay, not to go too off topic. Uh, another frog franchise, Kulapari. All of the ones with special powers are poison dart frogs, and because they get their power from the poison. So I'm just saying, poison dart frogs are not. I just think it's nice how our main cast at least has like a fighting chance in the animal kingdom. But yeah, that aside,
uh,
so Marcy is introduced to all the planners. Of course, we'll find out she doesn't know their names until the first temple, which is
oh,
eh.
Yeah.
wait, yeah, wait, you forgot. Wait, you forgot about Marcy mentioning her favorite video game, Vagabondia Chronicles.
Yeah, the gamer stuff.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, that's what won the fandom over all the Game Girl stuff.
Yeah, and then Marcy brought up like the found family stuff with the
Oh
planners.
yeah,
Yeah.
I love the
I love the
Found
Found
Family
Family
too.
trope.
Yeah, that's such a mood.
Oh my god.
Me too,
Like
Marcy.
if there is if there is like a course on how to make endearing characters for like in like the fastest way possible, that scene to be on the has to be on that course.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Like the whole episode.
Yeah, yeah. Like like there's never been a fan. There's like many people just immediately gravitated to her just for that scene alone.
Mm.
Yeah, and we at the same time she kind of like drops a little bit of a lore or a little bit of what she's been doing in Utopia and how she's like already like the chief of like the night guard of the city,
Yeah.
A captain, I believe. Yeah.
chief ranger of the Utopian night guard.
Uh,
And like none of the
uh,
planners understood what she was saying, but like as we the audience kind of like realized that she's like in a high ranking position.
We're like, wow, you've been at it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
she's been grinding. She's been grinding that XP.
and then and then Marcy
I,
takes them to the like Marcy like tells them the city's not going to open up until the barbarians are gone, but she's come up with a plan. And then we're introduced to I guess the founding
The
fathers,
beat
the founding fathers
of
of
the podcast.
of the podcast.
Podcast. Triple B, ladies and gentlemen.
Welcome, dirty peasants.
Dirty peasants.
Oh man.
Dude, I totally forgot they were introduced in this episode. Like, I just totally forgot about them.
Oh my god. Triple B, like,
I just love how like each of them have like their different strategy, and then like the last guy like hits the guy with like the pacifism book.
yeah.
I'll always love that joke. I'll always love that joke just for that little thing.
For such one of they have given a big impression.
The Triple B, yeah. They only appear here and in Froggy Little Christmas, which is like kind of surprising, but
Yeah.
they managed to be like memorable every time.
Yeah.
Shout out to Sam Riegel for the tremendous voice work too.
Does he voice all three?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, okay, that's nice. So then, yeah, like the planners walk in and the Triple Bs think they're like lost, and then we get the iconic line, and yeah, we get a little bit of the barbarian scouting party stuff, and then Marcy mentions that she works like directly for the King of Amphibia, and of course there's Sprig, always suspicious. And I like how like Hop Up kind of like scolds Sprig there. Like he tries like to get Sprig to back down.
Yeah. Like I think this is like the first mention of like an authority figure in Amphibia. Like we have Mayor Toadstool and stuff, but like this is the first time we actually heard about somebody being like the biggest, like the highest power in this world, which is a king.
Yeah, this is the first time the show mentions it, even though we've like heard about Utopia in the past, and yeah, and the planners never brought it up with Anne, but I mean, of course, maybe the show didn't really figure those details out yet, but at least in this regard, we've seen how like detached Utopia can be with the rest of the valley, and how like the toads are, how Utopia is reliant on the toads to like handle that part of civilization.
Yes.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. It was really, I mean, yeah, damn it. I remember it being really surprising when it turned out they had a king, right? Like, just, like, yeah, I mean, I feel like you could get a sense that they're medieval, but, like, I guess that never crossed your mind, right? Like, you never really thought, oh, right, they must have a king, queen, possibly, like, whole royalty itself. Like, yeah, yeah.
I think it doesn't help that Utopia doesn't really have that, like, I guess, medieval feel into it. They're more modern than the rest of the world. So you would think that they don't have like kings and stuff because they're more advanced in their time. No.
I think the way Utopia is designed is kind of meant to like not. It doesn't want you to It doesn't want someone to immediately like associate their civilization with like medieval, because with the way the castle's shaped and how it's like kind of submerged in the water, and the vines are growing all around it, and especially those like mushrooms on top. They really want you to. They really want this idea that like nature has grown around this like
Old civilization.
Yeah, like it's like you kind of get the idea that like some stuff hasn't been maintained, even though it's like still thriving. At least that was my impression of Utopia.
Yeah. Plus, it also helps. It also doesn't help that Utopia is generally more secluded than to the rest of Amphibia, because like like when you're from Frog Valley, like it's very difficult to reach Utopia.
Yeah, even Hop Up mentions that the journey just to get to Newtopia can be dangerous.
Mm-hmm. And took plenty of time, from 2 weeks to a month.
Right.
Mm.
And then of course like we find out Newtopia has the resources to for fast travel, but of course the rest of Frog Valley doesn't have a stable of Joe Sparrows waiting.
Only
Unfortunate.
yeah,
Well, fortunate, really.
they could only use snails, while Utopia somehow can use birds, which honestly I never. I always question it, because like birds aren't really a species I associate with like world full of frogs. Like insects, maybe, yeah, but like birds,
Well, I
not
mean,
really.
we've seen big giant birds before with the herons, and so it's not too hard for you to go from there are dangerous big birds to there are also more peaceful versions of said giant birds. I
Yeah,
feel like
oh, yeah,
it works out well enough.
yeah, true.
I mean, I'll admit, like, fucking Joe Sparrow. I always said George Sparrow like grind, but like Joe Sparrow. I mean, damn, he broke the sense of scale in the show. I'm not gonna lie, like that the fucking fast travel of Joe Sparrow. Like it took us like 5 weeks of episodes just to get to one location to like boom, we're somewhere else now in a 1 minute scene. Like
And I think that's really useful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Because
think
if we had to travel with the wagon any longer than to Newtopia, either we would have gone, oh, and now all of a sudden everything speeds up a million times because we have to skip like 3 weeks in between, or we'd have multiple episodes detailing travel, and you'd just lose everybody. Like,
right.
think you have to have something like Joe Sparrow come in to go, and here's how you don't have to worry about that doing that giant journey we just did all the way back home.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, sure. Anyways.
Yeah, I just wish we had a pit stop, but yeah, that's to make the best use of time. That was the best thing they could have done. So then yeah, we get back in the. I guess this is like the war tent, the war camp, except it's just them. But yeah, Marcy comes up with the plan with the stink shrooms, and Polly's not interested, and then Marcy mentions how they had to fight off a bunch of barbarians to get there, and then Polly's interested again, and then Anne kind of notices how maybe a little even while Marcy's talking, we get that those cute moments where Anne is just fiddling around with Marcy's hat or her cloak, and then yeah, so Marcy came up with the plan that she's kind of clumsy, where she almost tips the table over, and then that gets Anne a little bit nervous, and she suggests letting her and the planners handle it, but then Marcy wants to tag along since this is her operation. And then the cape's on fire again. And
Well, I thought it was really cute when like Anne twiddled with Marcy's like
Yeah,
hoodie. Like that was really cute.
Marcy's fiddling. No, Anne's fiddling with Marcy's clothes. Yeah, a bit. It was cute a little bit, for a bit.
then I like how the
Just a
Triple
little bit.
B. Oh, sorry. Go ahead,
Mhm.
Sunsfury.
No. Go.
Oh, I just like how the Triple B immediately had a backup cloak prepared for Marcy, and back in Handy Ann, where they showed when Hop Up showed a picture of a wise newt with a cloak, and Sprig and Polly were super were intrigued by it. I like how the newts kind of kept up that thing where cloaks are cool. I guess.
They make them mysterious.
Yeah, so then Marcy and Anne head out, and then this is when Polly kind of calls out Sprig, but then of course like Hop Hop thinks she's talking about him, and we get that funny like cholesterol joke, and I like how Hop was just like so honest about it, and
Like, watch Hop Hop die from a heart attack because they never trusted it.
Yeah, they haven't eaten the script.
and then Frownzilla, and then like of course Sprig gets Sprig pretty much like
Sprig gets salty.
yeah, Sprig is salty,
Sprig
and
doubles
then
down.
I love all of his expressions. I love how even early on, like Sprig's like, "You don't trust her," right? And then Polly says, "With my life," and then of course later
I like
on,
that.
Yeah.
I mean, and then Hop Hop says, "I mean, look, Sprig, she's harmless." And proceeds
and
to
then
show
we get
Marcy.
surrounded by the butterflies, and Sprig is just like
Stone,
stone,
just
like
literally staring at her.
the death glare, and oh my god, I just. Why did Sprig have to be so right for this?
Yeah, it's painful. It's painful.
Just because those comments aged like wine doesn't mean he was right like at the time.
I know,
He was still wrong.
I know, but the thing is, when the more correct Sprig is, the more over the top he goes. Like when, like Sprig has a point, and then he just takes it like way too far and is way too bitter about it. Like, remember when Ned is trying to like bother the Boon Choice about like the recipes, and Sprig is like, okay, like he's annoying. Yes, Sprig, that's correct. And then Sprig's like, I'm gonna destroy this man's livelihood. And then we're all like, no, Sprig, that's not the point.
Yeah. Sprig is a vengeful, salty kid for no reason. Like just when he thinks he's right, every he's gonna do everything in his power just to make it right.
Yeah, Sprig's such a Chad.
If that's your to call someone a Chad, then sorry.
I mean, I'll take it back if he ever misses. But he's still Sprig he still hasn't missed. I'll take it back if he's ever hasn't.
I mean,
No,
he missed with Sylvia. He missed with Sylvia.
He missed with Sylvia.
All right, Sylvia. All right, I'll give him that. I'll give him that. But like everything else, he has a straight record.
Actually, no, he was wrong about Sasha because he was actually like welcoming to Sasha.
Nah, I mean he was, but then he was course corrected within the free. He was course corrected in 5 seconds.
When he started throwing mud at her.
I mean, the only time Sprig Sprig was right, but he wasn't being a salty bitch about it is in Reunion 2 when he realizes that the frogs are in a trap, and he just becomes quiet about it until he warns everybody about it. Yeah.
There's also toe tax, where he like when Anne tried to be friends with Bog, and Sprig was immediately like territorial with Anne. But
look at that, barely any misses.
Yeah, so Sprig, of course, the planners they're not really interested in what Sprig has to say about this. And then, of course, we get the Hop Hop gets that brief moment with Triple B, and they make their comment about analysts not doing field work, and like I felt for Hop Hop in that scene.
especially after Marcy coaxed Hop Hop with her line about farmers are the backbone of society, and you should be proud of your work, Hop Hop.
You'd be surprised by how many people are like Triple B in the industry.
Yeah. Uh,
Ah,
also, I want to point this out. The Marcy and Hop Pop interactions are golden, man.
yeah, it's mostly
Yeah.
Hop Pop like having the perfect reaction to Marcy, just like going on about
Being planned stuff. Yeah.
yeah.
Like that one small one of them falling over. I'm landing on Polly. Like that. That was really funny.
And then wait, which moment was that?
Oh, it was when I think it was when yeah, when Marcy was like nerding out on each of the planters, like right after she measured his brain, complimented him
Oh.
for being a farmer, and then Hop Up just like just yeah,
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
just the sheer shock of being appreciated for his hard work makes him fall
Mm.
over on Polly, and she screams, "Get off of me!"
Oh right, right. And I like how when Hop Pop walks out of the tent, you hear those like little horn noises
Oh yeah. Sure.
when he lifts up his pants. Oh, Hop Pop.
Mm.
So then, yeah, back
That's why Hop Up. That's why Hop Up's the worst planter. I'm joking.
you deserve that moment of silence, Lemur. You deserved it.
I'm joking, Trump.
I
I'm
mean,
sorry, but this,
Oh,
that's for payback what you did, all right?
So yeah, we get to the one of the entrances of the barbarians, and of course Bessie, Sprig talks to Bessie for a moment before they enter, and I'm just trying to see, did Marcy just like fall in, or
She fell in.
Mm.
yeah? So they go in, and Anne insists on like leading the group, but Marcy kind of just walks ahead,
Mhm.
and apparently Marcy has been through these tunnels before, but she almost fell into one, and
I mean, this is on character, yes.
yeah, maybe that's how she like knows all these tunnels is because she fell into each and every one of them.
so yeah, she probably has gotten hurt in here before, huh?
Mm.
I mean, her plan was really like well thought out. So like, yeah, I guess we can just assume that she spent a lot of time just researching these tunnels, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. In preparation for like the barbarian invasion.
So then, and then we get, and then Sprig just makes that joke about like being in the back, and then of course a barbarian grabs him,
Oh, that was great.
and then he's like screaming like, "Why me? Why always me?" And then while getting dragged off, and then he just pops up later because covered in slime.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
I
just
think
they were all
I
so
think the
casual. They didn't even give a shit. They were all just like, okay. And they went back to fighting.
yeah. Yeah, the interaction was like Polly said, "Oh, hey Sprig, you're alive." Yeah, I kicked them.
And he's like covered with slime.
And slime, yeah, covered in slime. Oh man, the jokes in this episode. I forgot how funny this episode.
Yes, then we get they're holding off the barbarians, and then Marcy is
Yeah,
coming up with like a potion in the back, and
what
then
was it? What was the flower again? Like
I don't
I
know, the
forgot.
essence of some
I know it's like Bainesboro or something.
Bainesboro, Nightshade,
Yeah.
Highland mushrooms, and with some Bobgoblin horn and whatever. Like, it's the normal alchemy stuff.
Just the normal stuff.
Wow.
No extra frills added here, no sir.
Yeah, so then she comes up with a potion to like get them all. So like she makes a bomb, and then they all rush through, and she has like another potion like with a bunch of vines to like cover up their tracks, and then of course Polly's on the other side. And then that only fuels Sprig's doubt.
We also got like I think the first line we got
Oh,
not the
not the
baby?
baby, yeah.
Yeah. Is this the first time?
Yeah, that's the first time.
Yeah,
Yeah, not the
yeah.
baby. Like
Yeah,
that was a that was a weird, short-living running gag. Like I mean, they said it twice while they're in Utopia, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was on Hopping Mall the second time.
Yep.
Yeah, just hopping mall and Marcy the Gates. Like that was just like they tried to make it a thing, but I guess like I don't know, only lasted 2 episodes.
Yeah, so they get their way, they get Polly out, they keep going, and I love that little joke about like Hop Pop's like, how would you like to be adopted, Marcy? Like at this rate, Hop Pop's eventually going to adopt all the girls and adopt all like any robot, snail, or hummus that comes his way. He'll eventually adopt them.
Yeah. Like I said, like the Hop Pop and Marcy interactions are low key so good. Like I would love to get more of those eventually.
Yeah, Hop Pop, because we're so used to Hop Pop reacting off of like the plant, like the rest of the family. It's kind of nice to see like some like a brand new person he's just met also share similar interests with him. Because like for sure, Polly, Sprig, and Anne don't share Hop Pop's love for farming. Yeah, so eventually I come across the Ant Queen's nest, and I like how she covers all the like larvae with the mucus and
The
kind of uses
slime.
like a blanket, and then like Sprig Sprig just makes that line. Oh, at least she's a good mother.
Yeah, Sprig jealously made that comment.
Oof.
Those eyes large.
Yeah.
So then they start setting up the stink shrooms and like a rock, like a pillar, not pillar. Yeah,
Stalactite.
I forgot what's it called again.
Stalactite? Like the spike things from above caves?
Yeah, the what you just
Yeah,
said.
stalactite.
Yeah, so that almost hits Marcy, and then Anne kind of gets her out of the way, like pushes her out of the way, and Marcy is kind of like annoyed with Anne for that. Because apparently Marcy noticed it, but I mean, since Marcy survived this long without Anne, I maybe she probably had a way to avoid it. Just to the audience, it looked like she was going to get crushed.
I think, yeah, I can see how someone interpreted it like that. I guess I always took it as like, yeah, like the show on the show, like justifying like Anne's worry, but at the same time, I feel like like just that small scene of her looking up and noticing like the like, what do you even call it? Like the I'm just gonna
Staggerite,
call it
Rock.
the pointy rock.
Yeah, the pointy rock falling down on her. Like, yeah, no, it was yeah. I feel like that was supposed to also dictate just I guess some of the skills Marcy's gained during a time of Utopia, in a way.
Yeah, you're right. I'm replaying that clip, and she notices it before Anne
Yeah.
gets her out. Yeah, that's a nice detail. And then then Marcy even points out how she's been like able to like get this far on her own.
Yeah, sure, Marcy.
And then of course poor Sprig is just like trying to plant some sting shrooms, and then that like that larva ant thing just comes out at him, and the queen notices Sprig and just immediately swallows him. I mean, if you want even more Sprig and Marcy parallels, like the way the Ant Queen grabbed Sprig here is similar to how the Core grabbed Marcy and Olivia and
Wow.
Yunnan.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I see it. I see it. Wow.
Just makes you think.
Sprig just has bad luck, doesn't
Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, then Sprig gets swallowed, and then uh, like Marcy insists on going to get Sprig, and Anne is really like hesitant about it, and then that's when kind of Anne talks. That's when Anne brings up how she's like doesn't want to lose Marcy again. It's it kind of makes sense why they kind of made Anne extra emotional at the beginning of the episode, just to show that she doesn't want to go through this separation again.
Yeah, it's yeah. I mean, it's a really real well done scene, and it's like, yeah. I mean, I just remember. I know, like, I do define like 2A as sort of like. Well, I mean, I know, like the idea of 2A is also to sort of have Anne like properly process reunion and sort of like slowly move on from that and stuff, and like yeah, no, it's pretty interesting that that beyond that one scene in Handy Ann and then like this one scene in Marcy the Gates, like it's not mentioned that much. You know what I mean? Like reunion. I know like I guess Battle of Hobbit Die Planter, but like what Anne felt in that moment, it's not really referred to all that much. And I think it's just and obviously, yeah, while it's not, you can still tell like it still has like a presence in some of these first few episodes of season two. And I feel like that's just sort of the interesting thing about Amphibia. Like it's a series that's very direct with its themes sometimes, but also like there's a lot to think about with what they don't say at the same time. Like you get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Hmm.
Yeah.
just like yeah, between Handy Ann and yeah, at least Handy Ann did a good job bringing up how like how Anne was kind of feeling in the moment, and then kind of pushed it down. Yeah, I need
Yeah,
to.
because I just know. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just thinking about how I might need to like think about this more.
Yeah, because I was just thinking like it's just we all know like what's going on in this scene. Like we all know what she's really referring to, right? Like even without her even saying it, like there's no direct reference to reunion until like the last like the literal like last minute of the episode when Anne's like talking to her about like what happened back then. I mean, it's we just have this moment here where yeah, like you can just focus on the fact that Anne really cares about Marcy and just wants to make sure that she's by her as much as she can be. But like you also know what happened to her in the past, how tragic her last reunion with a friend was. So it just like that detail is there. That detail is there even without the show like directly referring to it.
Right, it's more apparent here, especially with Marcy's character, and it kind of makes Anne extra overprotective.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then eventually, like Marcy jumps back in. And... Oh, we didn't talk about the crossbow joke with Polly. Like in the very beginning,
Oh
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
like right when Marcy like jumps into the Ant Queen's like mouth, like Polly just immediately is thinking about the crossbow. Oh, Polly.
Imagine, I don't. I'm just imagining. Imagining like if Polly actually got a crossbow for Christmas and like probably a little Christmas. Like you see her holding one in the credits. Like that would have been amazing.
She got like a Nerf gun, right?
It was
It
it
was
was
like twice the
something.
size of her too.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I think she did. I think she did.
Yeah, and then eventually Marcy busts her way out with Sprig, and we get that we get that very brief moment with a few frames of Those
Yeah,
those eye those eyes.
those eyes, those damn eyes, dude. That was rad as fuck because it's like you just know something weird is going on at Anne, and you get this. I mean, were there anyone in the fandom sort of guessing that Marcy would get a moment like that too? Like back then, 'cause I can't even remember. I feel like that was the first sign that there was something greater going on, that there was something bigger going on with these three girls in Amphibia. And I know, like, at that point, I was like, holy shit, I want this to happen to Sasha too. Like, just that small little moment right there.
Yeah, it was people kind of like once Anne's powers were a lot more like apparent in Handy Anne, and there's 3 gems, and the other 2 gems happened to Marcy and Sasha happened to have colors similar to those gems on their skirts. Like it was kind of like we knew like there's like an idea that they were connected to the stone somehow too. It's just seeing that for the first time, like right when Marcy's just like coming out of this ant queen, it just like fueled more like speculation. Not fueled, it just
Yeah.
reinforced the speculation we had.
I mean, I just can't wait until Marcy's that cool again. Because to me, that's still peak Marcy right there. That's still peak Marcy. You know, just like everyone impressed by just how like confident she is. Then like what did Hop Hop say? She was like what did, I forgot what did Hop Hop say in that scene? Anyone remember?
That's one cool newt.
No. Like when she was bouncing around on like the barbarian
Oh,
ants. Like what did Hop Hop say?
who would have thought that these like ants are so bouncy?
Yeah, then she said, "Oh, I did because I studied." I'm like, that. Come on, isn't that the coolest thing? That's like still the coolest thing that she's ever said in this series to me. Like that one scene right there, that is still peak Marmar. She is not like she has not done something as cool as that.
Yeah, and then again, of course, Anne's connected to the blue stone, but she had the purple uniform, but it's fine. I mean, looking at modified like looking at an edit with the blue skirt on Anne, it's kind of
Yeah,
weird.
it doesn't. Yeah, it does. Yeah, you can see why they went with purple.
Yeah, I'm not. Maybe if it was like introduced at the very beginning, maybe I'd have like a different opinion. I'm just
It
too
just looks. No, you got. I mean, it just looks kind of like. I mean, would we? I mean, it just looks kind of like.
plain.
Yeah, just really dull. Like it's just
I mean, which doesn't
I
make
don't know.
sense because it's just purple. Like it's still the
Yeah,
same.
I know. It just purple just adds so much. I don't know how it does it, but like it just looks so much better than just blue.
So yeah, like Marcy got Sprig out, and then it's another cool moment, and then of course like the Ant Queen just like cuts the rope, and then they all fall, and then they get surrounded again. But then that's when the stink shrooms go off, and that drives off all the ants. And of course we get that joke about how the like the stink shrooms will like will melt their lungs if they breathe it in too long. But and then Anne makes that quick comment about Marcy has changed, and oh, and before that, Sprig finally, after Sprig, after Marcy saves Sprig's life, Sprig finally decides Marcy is trustworthy.
As you do.
I mean, yeah, when someone saves your life, you tend to have a different opinion on them.
Yeah, definitely treated. Hey, I mean, she definitely treated him a lot better compared to Sasha. Like a lot better.
The same could be said of almost anybody.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, and then like, and then the finale, like she saves Sprig again. Uh, yeah. And then so they all get out of the cave, and we get that third cape on fire joke, and I'm not sure why. I'm hoping once Marcy's freed, she loses the cape, because I don't know. I mentioned
You don't
earlier.
like it?
Yeah, you just
I mentioned earlier about how
Yeah,
like hoods are evil.
yeah, plus you just have to like wonder. I mean, I mean, how much of I mean, I think Mars will still have like an interest in fantasy, but I guess she'll be like more healthy. Like by the time she gets free or something, like I mean, I don't know. I think I do expect the design change. Like I doubt she's going to be keeping like the same. I doubt she's going to go back to like the same amphibia gear she had in season 2. You know what I mean? It just spells a different version of Marcy. That's like, you know what I mean? Like that she's not supposed
Yeah,
to be
agreed.
anymore.
Agreed. We're just going to get a different vibe.
Yeah,
That kind of goes without saying. You can't go back once you've gone forwards.
yeah.
Right.
But that's for literally the end of season 3, because there's no way we're seeing Marcy
Yeah,
free until then.
yeah, yeah. Like the last episode.
Lemur, we got up to the part of them like defeating the Ant Queen and like leaving the cave. Like, what were your thoughts on that part of the
Oh, yeah,
episode?
for like you. Oh, you mean like the entire ending sequence with Marcy saving Sprig?
Yeah,
Uh, yeah. I feel like that scene really captures everything that what is good about Marcy. Like what Marcy at her best can really do, because yeah, she does everything on her own at that point, and she's very capable. And in fact, and I also really love how Sprig. In one moment, Sprig pretty much gave his trust about it, and it's pretty nice. Um, I do think that scene alone is what could potentially be Marcy when she is pretty ready, when she's ready to like give up everything and yeah, and become the best version of herself. I don't know how we get there, but hopefully we could eventually in the show. Yeah, that's pretty much I think it's a very well done scene.
yeah. Nick brought up how when Hop Hop mentions like who knew like the barbarians were so bouncy, and then like Marcy's like super like confident, and when she
Mhm.
says that she knew about it because she studied them, and she's immediately like just jumps into the
Yeah.
into the jaws of the Ant Queen.
Yeah, I think what's Marcy's biggest comfort is that she has control, and like she knows everything. That's why she's so thirsty for knowledge, because if she knows everything, then she can't do no wrong. But take that comfort away, and she probably she has nothing. She collapses pretty easy.
Right. So then, yeah.
It's pretty.
Oh, go ahead, Nick.
Are you good?
No,
I
go.
mean,
I was gonna go on to the next scene.
I mean, I don't even know if like what I have to say is like a fully fleshed one, but I guess it's just like yeah, this really is an example of Marcy at her best. I guess like using like her knowledge and interest in this stuff just to help her friends. Like, well, yeah, I guess that's all I got.
Yeah, plus, yeah, like for example, like the second temple, the bird thing.
So then, yeah, like Marcy and the planners leave the cave. Sprig kind of apologizes for his behavior, and it kind of reminds me of Thai Feud, where both like Marcy and Mrs. Boonshoy can understand that like Sprig means a lot to Anne,
Mm-hmm.
and of course we get Hop Hop's It's kind of inconsistent, but whatever. It's just like Sprig is covered with the ant acid, but then like when he coughs it up, he just immediately melts Hop Pop's shirt.
They just did that just to make fun of Hop Pop. We all
The
understand.
Hop Pop abuse,
Yeah.
humiliation.
Like he absolutely did not have that coming, but they just had to do it to him.
Or did he?
No, but plus I love his reaction. He's like, nah, dang it, boy.
The acid has 200% more effect than use on when it's used on Hop Pop.
Or maybe it's part of Sprig's powers. No.
Oh my god! Wow, you're gonna run with that one. Huh?
No, actually, I mean, stomach acid is pretty acidic. So just like amplify that with the barbarian slime, it made it super effective.
Yeah. That makes sense.
I mean, okay, I can't call Hop Pop a bug type, but and if Hop Pop was a bug / poison type, he should be able to take this with minimal with it should be less effective. Whatever. I haven't played Pokemon in years, but sorry, but
yeah, it's fine.
You're not sorry at all, are you?
so yeah, like eventually, the gate of Newtopia opens up, and that bell goes off, and I guess that just means like Newtopia is officially open again and open to the outside world. And then Marcy, Sprig, and Polly immediately run in. And then for some reason, Marcy wants to write a report. I mean, I guess this is just the paperwork. That's part of the job.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes. Yeah, she has to report what happened to the king.
Yeah, it's true.
It
And
won't
then
use any of this information for malicious purposes at all, no sorry.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I really thought the barbarians would make another appearance, but
Appearance. Yeah, same. I thought they would do it.
They're probably dead now.
oh man, those Frobos must have like
Yeah.
made them endangered species.
Oh, God. That's fine. They can repopulate.
Yeah, as long as one queen survives, the colony will go on. We need to get like a BBC like documentary on the barbarians, like narrated by David Attenborough. But yeah, so while the Planter kids and Marcy go into Newtopia, we get that quick moment between Anne and Hop Pop about like Anne kind of like telling Hop Pop like what she like realized about like Marcy and how she kind of grew on her own the same way Anne did, and Hop Pop gives that really nice line of like always amazing what people are capable of, isn't it? And then like I don't know, it's such an underrated line, and I just really liked.
Yeah.
It's
Mm.
yeah, like
It just speaks from his like it just you just know it comes from his years of wisdom that he cultivated himself. Like it's I feel like we don't get enough moments like that from Pop Pop, but like when we do, it's just damn, like it's just so touching what he just said in that moment.
And he's probably
It's exactly what Anne needed to hear too.
and he was probably thinking about Anne when he said that too.
Ah, yeah.
yeah. Also, that probably it also to me that implies like both the good side and the bad side of the
Oh
like
yeah, like
like in the moment, yeah, like it's amazing how it's amazing how people can do amazing things, but at the same time, like, you know, there's also the other side where you can't believe that someone would do such a thing, and yeah, yeah, that
Yeah. I mean, yeah, the implications are miserable, but like, I don't know. I just love how you can see how happy Hop Hop looks for her too. You know, like,
Yeah.
plus you can really see because I feel like Hop Hop was just used perfectly in this episode. I mean, he's just supportive of Van the whole time, right? With reuniting with Marcy. I mean, like, I might be going a little too far, but I just know later on, like,
Yeah,
he tells Sprig and Polly to like run along and give Marcy some time. Like, it's just
he does the same
like,
thing.
damn,
Oh, sorry, Nick. Yeah, he
go
he
ahead.
did the same thing with when Sasha first appeared in Reunion. Like he knows when to give
like,
Anne some space.
yeah. It's just it's just like I just love moments like that from Hop Hop. Like they're so few and far in between, but like it's just really touching anytime he like I guess shows his wisdom in a way, his maturity.
Yeah.
It's just really great.
I just wish Hop Hop kept that shirt on when they enter Newtopia. Like I hate how they. I know it's just a minor error. I just
Yeah, it hurt. No, because like they spent so long having him try to force it on, and then like in health of it, it's like like if it was a quick one and done thing, I probably wouldn't have noticed it. But it's like they gave so much attention to it.
Yeah, they could have at least kept it in, but
Yeah.
I feel like the sweater is inside of his shirt. But again, this is me. This is one thing about that way.
yeah,
Dumbledore's just so adorable. Like and helping him put on the shirt. It's not nice.
helping Grandpa put on the shirt.
Yeah. Helping Grandpa. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Uh,
wholesome moment.
moving on. Moving on.
Wait, Lemur, you can't say that.
Wait,
So-
what? Oh, sorry. Sorry.
We were
Sorry,
talking
I
about
thought-
Anne and Hop
I thought-
Hop. Come on.
No. I just thought it
This
would
is
be a good
worship
segment.
thing.
Go, there's still plenty to
I
talk
just
about.
worship
Okay,
the game.
okay. So
I just
back to Anne and Hop Hop. So okay, moving on. We have back. yeah. So like, we enter Newtopia and it's real. Like the backgrounds are so are really great. Like just that first shot
Dude,
of like the city and the coral and
yeah, it's just. I mean, shit, that's iconic right there. I don't care what anyone says. That's iconic. Like just taking in the city like that. Like we've been waiting so long just to get here. I mean, it's crazy. Like,
Utopia is the
and it was
bossy
worth it all.
say. Utopia
Yeah.
is the bossy say of the ship. Amphibia.
I mean, Bossing Say like well, at least in Bossing Say like the lower walls were intentionally looked really ugly, just to reinforce that class divide. But at least here it's like Newtopia is just like the upper level.
No. I meant like in terms of like build up and stuff, like how it's placed in the plot, like
Oh, right,
like
right.
how we were building up this one place and how we're gonna stay there and stuff. Yeah, it's kind of similar to that too.
Oh, right, yeah, that makes sense. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then like right when they walk in, they immediately like a bunch of the Utopian army like walks in, and then we're introduced to Lady Olivia.
I forgot she was going to be introduced in this episode, but I mean, hey, it was a pretty nice. Actually, this episode introduced a lot of characters. Not even like Marcy, Triple B, Olivia. Who at the end, like, I realized that. But yeah, no, that was a pretty nice introduction from Olivia right there. I mean, I know we didn't get like too much from her in the Newtopia arc, but like, hey, she was memorable at least.
Remember when we all thought like Olivia would be a villain? I mean, going back to the Avatar comparisons, for those of you who watched Legend of Korra, like Lady Olivia was like Su Yin for like to like a lesser extent, where it's like in the episodes leading up to Marcy the Gates, we're all thinking like, oh, like maybe Olivia, like she's part of like in the poster, she's kind of shadowed, maybe she's like the actual mastermind. And then with Legend of Korra, it's like every week, it's like, oh, Su Yen is just standing there menacingly. She's looking. Maybe she's up to something.
Did that lead to anywhere or?
No.
Oh,
Nope.
so just like Olivia's character, right?
Yep.
Very accurate then. Very accurate.
What? The slam thumb? You can't let him get away with that.
Wait, no,
Get
I
him off
don't.
the
No, I don't
podcast.
mean. No, I just meant that like Olivia isn't evil. Like she's a wine
Oh,
mom.
But damn, you just slandered Olivia. I can't let him get away with that.
What do you mean? What do you
What
mean?
is there to slander even?
Yeah, like there's nothing to
What are you
slander
guys
with
saying?
Olivia.
Olivia
She
Nunez.
said
You guys forget
nothing.
that episode? What are you guys saying? Olivia Nunez. You just said her character led to nowhere in this series.
No,
Come
no.
on.
Okay, I didn't mean. I meant like her. The potential. The people. People thought they would be they thought she would be a villain, but then it just she wasn't. That's what I was trying to. That's what I meant. Don't worry, Nick. I didn't.
Yeah.
But are you sure you and Lehman have the same idea? Because I bet you
No. No.
I mean, I don't know if.
it's-
Well, Nick, you watch Legend of Korra, right? So you know what I.
do. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, yeah, I've watched it post everything, so I can't really speak to people's interpretations or anything of like Su Yin. I don't know. She didn't come off as particularly villainous to me, at least.
Yeah, that's the thing, Sunsfury. She didn't, and yeah.
Yeah. I did. Neither did Olivia, so I guess that's correct.
Yep.
Yeah, and then yeah, Olivia makes her debut, and I mean, I guess it was interesting that like Marcy has like a perfect track record on missions, which I guess makes sense with like how like with her personality and with her strengths.
It's also pretty neat that Olivia and Marcy are kind of casual. Yeah, they talk very fairly casually at that point too.
Yeah, Marcy still bows, but it's mostly out of like formality.
Respect. Yeah,
Yeah.
formality.
And then I
I
like
will
how.
say it's.
Oh, go ahead, Nick.
Oh, go ahead.
No, you go.
I mean, yeah, we do that every day. I was gonna say, I mean, I guess I kind of have two things, but I'll just mention another thing a little later. But like, I just like the fact that Amphibia stuck by the fact they didn't really build a relationship between Marcy and Olivia in like the second season. Like, sure, there was something, right? Obviously, like they had something, like they got to know each other like a tiny bit, but like like they still. I mean, I always respect the show for doing that because I feel like I know a lot of people were like hoping for like. Trying to
Like
Tell me I'm
Olivia as the
I'm
mother,
trying
the
not
mother
to be
figure.
controversial. I don't want to smash that theory. I don't want to like throw that theory to the trash. Like, so I'm trying to avoid about what I'm say. Like, Mom Olivia. A lot of people were hoping for Mom Olivia, and they're hoping that like season 3 like would deliver that. And I just like the fact that it sort of did because I feel like it would have been forcing it to make Olivia like more affectionate of Marcy than she already was.
Yeah, they didn't really like. I feel like only the theme song takeover kind of like before Olivia and Yunnan, like the theme song takeover felt the most like Olivia being the caretaker for Marcy with the way she was like she was there by her bedside when she first got to Amphibia and that brief flashback scene where like Marcy broke her leg and like Olivia was explaining her role to like the Utopian royal family. Yeah, I wish I get why we didn't get more, but it would have been nice.
It, like, yeah, it was a bit of a bummer that we never got some of that Olivia and Marcy dynamic, but yeah, like you said, I understood why we didn't get enough.
I mean, I guess it's kind of my controversial take. Like, I mean, Thumb, you already see me put this thing down, but I'm not glad. I kind of am glad that she never really made any real connection with Amphibia because I feel like
Yeah, it's
it's the
not
next to what Amphibia was for her, right?
right.
I don't. I think it just makes sense for why she never really almost all her connections were shallow in Amphibia. Like sure she got to know people, but none of them were really like deep. Except no, what's funny, the only time her connections really got deep was when she like was open and honest, and once she basically poured her heart out to Andreas about what happened. Right? Like isn't that pretty funny? Like that's when she
It's not
actually
funny.
made
It's
her
kind of
first.
sad.
That's
Yeah,
funny.
it's
It's cruel, man.
sad and funny in a way. Funny and sad in a way. When she was done LARPing, that's when she made a real friend in Amphibia. I mean, I know she had Maddie, but let's be honest, like her real best friend that she made from Amphibia was Andreas.
And that's probably the
I
moment
mean,
where
I wouldn't even consider Andrea as her best friend.
I mean,
I
after that,
consider her as a fodder figure.
Honestly, that's probably closer to it. I mean, like, damn. Okay, when do you? Okay, I guess we can go into their.
wait, no, no, no,
Can we
no,
go
no.
into the relationship
Wait, I
or like
think
later in another one?
I feel like that's gonna come up in a future episode.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Good point. Good point. Okay. Yeah. I guess we have the corn the king. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So then, yeah, Olivia is introduced to the planners, and then like right after Olivia leaves, like Sprig, since he now trusts Marcy, he asks her like a bunch of questions. Like I like how I like how he asks like a bunch of like different questions, and then his like most important one is like what Anne was like back home.
Greg being adorable.
Just little brother Sprig asking what her big sister Anne is doing when.
Oh, you cut off Lemur, but I'm guessing you're gonna say like what his big sister was like before Amphibia.
Yeah. This mic is really bad.
Really timid, easy to bully, easy to manipulate, easy to push over. You know.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and then Hop Hop like immediately like tells the planner kids to go away for a few minutes.
I love that. Like, it's those small moments in this episode, man. Yeah. Hopper was done justice in this episode. Now, I know we already talked about it, but I just love that scene so much.
Yeah, so then and then by that like after a while it's like already like sunset kind of. It's dusk, and like Marcy and Anne have that like conversation by the pond or by the fountain, and I really like how like Anne. I feel like what Anne said here about how like she was like trying to search for Marcy for so long, and then now that she found her, she doesn't know what to do next. That kind of really sums up like the road trip, where like the main purpose of it was get to Utopia, and then like hopefully someone can help Anne find a way home, and then luckily like that's exactly what happened. But like now we don't know, like at this point we didn't know where the show would go next.
Yeah, Christ and Dibby and did this show like this show really spun things around, didn't it? This arc. I mean, I think one of my favorite things that this scene sort of spawns off is just yeah. I think it's yeah. So, Anne and Marcy sort of figuring out their new dynamic without Sasha being involved. I think that's like one of my favorite things of the Utopia arc just to analyze. You know, just because it's now this is a friend now this is like a friendship that's here to stay. Like they aren't going to be like torn apart in an episode like in a single. Wait, oh, wait, oh, you scared the crap. Where are you scared the crap?
Sorry,
Yeah.
I was
Oh,
was
yeah,
cough.
Yeah, no
yeah,
worries.
don't worry. But like, I was just what was I gonna say?
You're talking
Oh
about
yeah,
how
yeah,
like
yeah,
Anne and Marcy without Sasha.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, part of the goal was just to have these two figure out, how figure out these two new versions of themselves and just what that means for the relationship, especially without Sasha being there. Like that was what their goal was with meeting each other again.
Yeah, that's a good way to summarize it.
Yeah, but speaking of Sasha,
Mm? Sasha?
Yeah, like Marcy, like Marcy brings up like getting home was pointless without Sasha, and then Anne kind of has to bring up that
Yeah.
the events of reunion.
I'm so glad that was brought up there and then.
Yeah, that's just really like. I mean, this episode just it just gave us what we wanted. Like pretty much, this episode just satisfied like anything we were planning for in Mars League Games. I feel like this episode just satisfied us on every single level. Like it's just a really well done scene, you know, and like I feel like it again, you know, I know Marcy, she has her massive flaws, like flaws that can get in her way. I know she does. I know her emotional intelligence kind of sucks, but like, come on, you can see here just how much she does understand Anne and just how much she cares for her. Because right now, like Anne has no idea what to do next, right? Like she's just like you said, Tom. Like her whole plan here was just to like get the Marcy somewhere, just find her. Now, like she has no idea. She just doesn't know what she wants to do after that, and she has. I don't even think she really had the motivation to really figure that out. But like, you know, we have Marcy here, just I don't know, raising her
yeah,
spirits, and that's such a touching moment here.
yeah, and like plus Marcy is the one that brought up the plan to. Oh my gosh, yeah, she was the first person to mention find Sasha.
I mean, now that we bring up like people finding each other, like I kind of wish we had the like that deleted scene, not delete scene, the deleted animatic where
Story one.
Oh yeah.
Marcy brought up like, oh, her plan was to wait for Sasha or Anne to come to her since she was at the capital of the world. I mean, that would have been an
Yeah,
interesting. Since it's not canon, it's not really like. I can think about like what the crew had intended for that to mean, but it didn't actually happen.
what if?
I was
Well,
just,
let's say it's canon. What would you think?
I would think that that wasn't Marcy's idea, but someone else's, just to keep Marcy contained. So,
Hmm.
and
Cough,
I mean,
cough, Andreas.
I would have complimented the scene for setting up scavenger hunt. I know like there's a little like small gag at the end where I think someone asked Anne like if she came up with that or something like no, I think there was like this how it went, but I just know like there's like a small gag where they basically make Anne look dumb and like that I just when I saw that in the man, like, I was thinking, oh wow, you know that would have been a great setup for the next episode that comes after.
yeah, just the idea that like Anne was in the middle of nowhere and she was like actively like trying to like, well, not all the time, but Anne occasionally like was trying to like look up different sources of like about the world and how to get home, and I'm assuming Marcy did the same. But in terms of like searching, I guess since Frog Valley, like since there was like it was winter, it kind of made sense that the planners couldn't like they couldn't go anywhere. But I'm just surprised like that reasoning wasn't used with Newtopia. Like maybe did Newtopia not have that same limitation, or I feel like they wouldn't. I feel like since Newtopia is so powerful, they probably would have like some sort of method, not to get to Frog Valley, but at least like travel around Amphibia. But I mean, we don't know that. Like maybe I'm probably just overthinking it. It's just because at least Anne was waiting to get out of the valley, but still did her research. Sasha was
Training.
training, and then once no, she was with the Toads at the time of season one. And then once they learned about Anne, they immediately came down. I'm guessing news didn't spread like fast enough to reach Newtopia about this stuff. Because I mean,
It's far away.
yeah, and at the time, like at the time, Grime wasn't against Newtopia, so if they just sent a letter somehow to them, oh, we found this like weird looking human, and then it'd eventually get to the king, and therefore Marcy. It's just like a minor. This is me just like
Like a nitpick.
not a nitpick, just like what if kind of like
Oh, okay.
if the show decided to do that. Because at least in Barrel's Warhammer, they did establish that like news kind of travels around with the way like they learned about the hummus. So yeah, that's just me.
Damn, yeah.
That was me going like going a little bit off topic, but yeah, like. Sorry, what did I derail earlier?
Marcy encouraging Anne about telling Anne about her plan to get Sasha.
Right. Yeah, so that was I like how Marcy was the one kind of encouraging Anne at this moment, where she like does like the power pose and.
Let's do our power pose.
That was adorable.
Yeah, I don't know why like for a power pose Anne held her breath, but
yeah. Yeah, it feels like an Anne thing to do though. Like,
Marcy triumphantly poses like a warrior girl, and then Anne is just bloating her cheeks up.
No, I felt like that sometimes.
yeah, and then they do that pose together, and
I'm Marcy Wu, and I'm Anne Boonshoy.
yeah, and then like after that, like they kind of relax, and then Marcy wants to know everything that happened to Anne, and then of course, luckily Anne and Marcy have their magically charged phones to show all the photos, and then Anne pretty much sums up her time in Wartwood, where it's like, oh yeah, this thing tried to eat us, and then there's this thing that tried to eat us, and then
this thing that also tried to eat us.
And then Marcy correctly predicts what would happen next. And then while all this is happening, Andrews is watching from his window. And oh man, we already knew Keith David was like voicing King Andrews, just hearing the legend in this show. It's like immediately like the respectability of the show just like jumped up like 100-fold with Goliath.
Goliath and who's the other? Wait, how many voice acting roles did Keith David have?
Many iconic ones.
I know, but like, what's his most iconic? Aside from Goliath,
there's many iconic roles like for Keith David.
I guess Dr. Facilier is the closest.
Like, and also the Arbiter from the Halo video games. Like, really in every medium, Keith David has like an iconic role.
Yeah, he's been around.
Basically every time a game or a show needs like a big man voice, Keith David is ready to voice them.
And it's just, oh man, like, I mean, at the time, like, we see the chessboard and the pieces are falling into place, and this is a flipboard board, and at the time we were thinking, oh, like, look at this guy, like, in his, like, dimly lit room talking to himself, but, like, knowing what we know now about Olivia Newnan, he's talking to the core this entire time.
Oh my god, it's crazy. I just realized that. I forgot that the core is always watching.
Like, yeah, on the crown. So it's like, yeah, all this time, like, it just made that nitpick that I had at the time like just
What?
it just warped
What
it
is he
into a
talking
good
to
thing.
I mean, I would totally even. I mean, I was surprised though because like, thought like back when did you see? What did you see? This is the type of monologue. Like, I could totally see it as like, I could totally see Andrews as a dude who just talks to himself. All of his life. Like,
Yeah, I buy Andrew as
Yeah.
being a
Yeah.
monologuer.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I monologue to myself all the time.
Yeah, and then
Just
yeah,
sounds
like
bad.
yeah, just it's so like it's just like I remember like watching the segment at the time. Oh, like why is he like talking to himself like just villain monologue? And then now it's like, oh, I'm an idiot. That's great.
Because we all know only villains monologue. It's
I know, but just like
true.
I'm so used to
Yeah.
it, so it's like when there's like an actual explanation for it, just it got caught me off guard.
Well,
Koro's watching is just so creepy. Like,
yeah.
just the idea of them always just watching everything happening. That's just,
And then like we get the chess pieces with like Anne, like he carved like a little mini like statue of Anne.
Yeah. It's like, and it's weird because at the time, like, wasn't he doesn't even know what Anne looked like, you know? So,
He
in
knows
fact,
he knows like Marcy has talked about Anne to him, and I'm
yeah,
guessing
but
Marcy
like,
would have like pictures on her phone.
I think that's the best explanation for that.
Like imagine like
just weird that he.
yeah, I was gonna say
You
it's
got
weird that he has like imagine like Marcy going to bed and then like Andrew's just like casually like sitting on his throne like carving like an Anne an Anne figurine. I mean him and
just weird. Though. I mean, like the. Okay, you go ahead. Go
no,
ahead.
I was just gonna finish like it's just him and Sprig both have something in common where they made like an action figure of Anne.
Oh, well. Okay, I'm saying all for Spring, but not for Andrew.
Yeah.
Like, he's a creep. He's a creep.
Go ahead, Nick.
Oh yeah. I mean, I was gonna say it's weird. I mean, it's isn't it weird that he doesn't have anything on Sasha? Like, wouldn't he have seen photos of Sasha and like sort of, you know what I mean? Like, isn't it kind of weird? Or what? What is he just like? Is he? I don't know. Like, why does he have a figure in Sasha? I guess like
I mean,
you
since
know if he has
Well,
like
okay, but here's the thing though. Like, we do know Sasha and Marcy aren't that close, but Anne and Marcy are close. So I believe that Marcy has more pictures with Anne than she has with Sasha.
not even like a single group photo though. I mean, it's
I mean,
like no
yeah, but
selfie.
like, I
Damn.
mean, there could be some group pictures, but they're definitely more dual pictures with Anne more than group pictures.
I mean,
Dang,
I
Marcy.
think the point of like this final scene was just to like since Anne has met up with Marcy, Andrus was just reflecting that on his board.
Yeah.
And just it kind of just shows you like how Andrus didn't know. I'm guessing he didn't know that the planners were arriving to Newtopia, but like he's playing the long game. Like he's playing Flipboard while everyone else is playing Bog Jump. Like
Mm.
and I think we covered most all of Marcy at the Gates.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, for the episode itself. And I kind of wanted to go into so Marcy at the Gates. What is this? The 26th episode of Amphibia. Almost like nearly half. Okay, assuming the theoretical 60 episodes, 60 22-minute episodes. Like 43% into this series, we're getting Marcy and Andreas.
Mm.
And Marcy's presence in season 1 was like non-existent.
It was literally zero.
Yeah, except for like that one flashback. Yes.
And like maybe back in 2020, like mid 2020, I was thinking like, man, why didn't they just show Marcy earlier? Like, and then like looking back at it now, like wiser. I think I don't want to say it's convenient. I think it's extremely helpful that Marcy was the most relatable of the cast of the trio to the fandom,
Mhm.
and that made it a lot
Mhm.
easier to like integrate her into the show
Mhm.
because she's just like me. And
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean,
She's
I
just
don't.
like me, for real. She's
I
just
mean,
like me,
I
for
don't mean that like
real.
literally for myself. Like I mean that like just like the sentiment.
Yeah. Hey, like the majority of the band of them.
It
Like
kind of reminds
they got
me.
yeah. But
It kind of reminds me of Della from DuckTales and how she was integrated in the main cast very fast.
Yeah, like
Like,
Della kind of was like like she had all the
she had build up though.
yeah, and also the show like went out of its way to like show you like she is like the triplets' mother, so she had like a little bit of everything from each of the triplets that you liked about them.
Mhm.
So it was like a lot easier for her, like for you to like get attached to her. Because if you were attached to one of the siblings, you could see where they got it from, and like you would be able to like latch onto that. And if you liked a
Yeah.
different tripling, you would probably like Della by default. And
Yeah. So,
I guess in terms of
I guess it does. Sorry.
go ahead, Lemur.
I was gonna say like so yeah, I guess it makes Marcy's integration to the show even more impressive because like he said, there was literally nothing when it comes to Marcy. Like we didn't know anything about her character.
yeah, plus, oh, plus I just really wanted to say, I think like honestly, I do believe it was a smart decision saving Marcy until season 2, because I feel like with Marcy, what was introduced in season 2 just goes hand in hand with her. Because I know season 2 is when the show just starts introducing like more complex themes, like the idea of that every dream comes with a price, right? And I feel like saving Marcy for season 2 was just a better decision overall because I can't really see what she'd have with the themes of season 1, like overcoming toxicity, like improving yourself, like forging new friendships rather than your previous ones. I mean, like Marcy's whole thing is like, it doesn't really have much to do with it. Like she just like she wouldn't work as like sort of like the anti. I can't pronounce the word. I try, but like whatever. But she doesn't work as like she wouldn't work as like I don't know. I mean, I just where would she fit in season 1? Like
Mm.
I understand people want more screen time for her, but it's like what, I feel like she just wouldn't mesh well with the themes of season 1. But then we have season 2, right? Like that's where they really start hammering in on the idea, like like the whole karmic justice with Amphibia regarding like your dreams. Like there's, I don't know, it just goes hand in hand in my opinion.
Plus, that Marcy is like the more adventurous friend, well, no, more adventurous friend of Anne. So yeah, for a season that is all about going out in this huge adventure, yeah, it does fit a lot more for Marcy to debut in season 2 than season 1, which is with their more quaint style.
Yeah.
Mm.
And like Marcy's personality, it feels a lot more like I'm trying to think of like the most polite way to word this without coming across as like she's like whatever she did in Utopia is probably like a more sanitized experience compared to Anne.
And yeah,
In terms of like she's in like she conveniently teleported inside the city, and this like all this like everything's not too far away, and she's like directly like she immediately became friends with like the head of this world, and she has like all these like sure there's like dangerous stuff, but like she's living in kind of like she's living in an urban environment that's like mostly that has its like a set of rules or like she's pretty much in like the safest part of Amphibia.
Mm-hmm. Plus, I mean, honestly, I'm doubting she had an unhappy moment at Utopia at all. Like, before everything happened, it's just this was like a dream come true to her, like a literal dream. So she was enjoying every second of it.
I mean, there were moments that those thoughts about like the past came back. There were moments.
I mean, were there?
Yeah, when Marcy was done LARPing, she actually talks to Andreas.
Oh right, but I'm kind of thinking about like before and
3 months, like.
Yeah, I'm just saying, yeah, like her experience in Utopia is 100% happy, but I there, but I do like how there are where it was said that there were moments where doubts are still coming to for Marcy in her mind, because like that's pretty much like which I think is pretty in line for her character.
like I feel like Marcy's setup and her setting in Utopia like I don't mean this as an insult. It kind of feels like what if
Control.
if Amphibia was the Owl House, it would be Marcy in Utopia. And that's not and that's not like a I'm not saying that like as a flaw. That's just like Amphibia would be like a completely different tone, and including Marcy in season 1, like we saw her in New Wartwood, what she was like she tried fitting in, and she felt more like an outsider than Anne was when she was when she was considered like the town beast and freak.
I can't even say you're wrong, because you are very much right.
Yeah, I don't know. It just I know there's people. I know. Like I feel like people do come from a good place when they like say they want more from Sasha and Marcy in the show. Plus, I mean, they're fantastic characters. I understand that, but I truly do believe the show has handled their screen time in the way it has for a reason, for a very good reason.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, it's just like what Thumb said. You can have like it just because like the whole idea is that like she's sort of stagnated. I mean, we don't really need like her like we don't really need her. I mean, it's like we don't really need her in Utopia Adventures in season 1. Plus, they got us caught up to her character in like 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's
like
like
literally 5 minutes.
It's like the more you focus on Sasha and Marcy, the more Amphibia becomes a different kind of show. And then by introducing Marcy in like season 2, and already like a character that's like very easily likable, like it kind of gives you what you want without like sacrificing like what season 1 was about with Anne, what Anne's story is about. And I feel like I've like used the same point last week for Wax Museum, but still relevant here.
What was the point?
Just like if you try focusing on something like outside of Amphibia's like main themes for too long, and then it's not Amphibia.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like
I 100% agree with that.
Yeah, but there's still that temptation. Like, oh man, like what if Marcy had just one segment outside, like one segment in season 1, or like what if Sasha just had one more segment?
Yeah, because I think like I guess the thing is to remember with both of them, like while they are fantastic characters, I feel like their number one priority is just sort of how they're like roadblocks in a way for Anne.
Yeah.
Like I'm not trying to put them down or anything. It's like like they obviously have like a number one priority to the story, and that's sort of why their screen time is handled the way it is.
But it was done really well with Marcy at the
Yeah, it
Gates.
was done. It was done in a fantastic way. I mean, like Sasha, 2 episodes in season one, she's already like, I mean, yeah. people were like, pining for more Sasha. Like, honestly, I feel like they outdid themselves here.
Yeah, so I covered what I wanted to talk about with Marcy's inclusion this late. Not late, maybe this far into Amphibia's story.
I want to talk about something else that I mentioned in the beginning.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to talk about the legacy of Marcy at the Gates when it comes to like the show, like not only in like the story of the show, but also like the overall impact that it had as a whole. So I feel like I feel like there is something that has been forgotten by the majority of the fandom. Well, not majority, but in recent times, I feel like most people like focus on true colors, but like I said this. I think I said this in the beginning when before we record. Like, if True Colors was like the episode that put the show on the map, Marcy at the Gates is the episode that really made people talk about the show for the first time in a long time.
Yeah, I guess just Marcy's inclusion was like so like everyone was has been waiting for it for so long. Yeah, it kind of made sense like that everyone would like that the fandom would like pop off.
Yeah. Plus, Marcy just appeals to everybody. Like, she got non-Amphibia fans to be Amphibia fans.
Yeah, Marcy's always doing the show favors.
Marcy is the glory. Marcy is the
Oh.
Gloria of the Amphibia. Like, she's the bait.
Yeah, from like being a cinnamon bun to getting stabbed. I mean, Marcy, damn, carrying the show on her back. Let's be honest.
Yeah, Marcy is the MVP of this show.
In some ways. In some ways.
Yeah, in some ways.
Yeah, you can tell Thumb is in the seat. Like, he's pissed off.
Wait, what? Wait, what do you mean seethe? What?
Oh, don't worry.
No, like, yeah, I'm glad people like got more interested in Amphibia when another human character was introduced. I mean, I'm not sure. Like, I don't know what else to say about it.
It's just, I don't know. I just found it funny that it's like, damn, it was. I guess it was Marcy that just really helped this show just like gain more reception. Like,
It's like, hey, look, everyone, a character with 5 fingers.
Hey, look, everyone, a freaking nerd. You like the Owl House? There's another character in the show.
Oh man, but
yeah, crap. Oh, I was gonna bring up. I was gonna say it's just interesting that have I ever mentioned how like season 2, like Marx's arc here sort of works as like a tragedy? Have I ever brought that up on the podcast?
I think you did back in. I mean, it's been a while since we talked about
Yeah, I was just
Marcy.
gonna say. Yeah, I mean, I was just gonna say she does have like this sort of. I guess her biggest. I mean, yeah, I think we can say her humorous persona, but like, yeah, I don't. It's just really interesting that she does have like all the classic traits, heroism, like the virtue of them. Then she has like the hubris, right? Like that small little flaw that just screws them over drastically, like her hook on fantasy.
It's not
Like it's
the specific word for a fatal flaw like that is hamasha.
Oh, Hamasha.
Hubris is thinking so full of yourself is pride taken to an extreme.
Oh, I see. Okay. Keep that in mind then. Yeah. But yeah, it's just yeah. I don't know. So it's just interesting that she went from like. And I've always just been interested on how that sort of like deconstructed like the whole isekai genre of Marcy, and like I don't know, it's just something, it's just really funny to see her basically go from like the hero of an isekai to like it's Dark Lord, like it's major villain, like you know what I mean? Isn't that just crazy? Like you take like one look at Marcy and Marcy the Gates, and then you take a look at her like recent appearances, like holy shit, like what
Yeah,
like
like yeah, I was gonna say, what I watching this episode with the power of hindsight was very gives a very bittersweet feeling.
Mm.
Yeah, especially with
I don't.
Sprig. But I mean,
I mean, I wasn't thinking of that scene, but yeah, sure, you have a point.
I mean, yeah, especially with the
I don't want to lose you
like
again.
looking back, like how like close she got, like she. I'm sure like whatever work she did to get to the role of like the chief of the Utopian Night Guard thing. I'm sure like that was deserved, but like for sure like Andrus was like keeping an eye on her and making sure like she survived. Like
yeah.
I mean,
Mhm.
Lemur,
Well,
that's what
I mean like that.
Lemur, you mentioned earlier, like yeah, like the setting felt controlled and like it
Yes.
feels controlled, especially with like Andrus knowing what he knows. Like he's
Mhm.
probably going to like do everything in his power to like make sure she's like all right at least. Like in the theme song takeover, she's on like a mission with Yunnan. I mean,
You went after a cult? Oh, like, I can't imagine. I can just imagine I'm freaking out. All the crazy shit she did. Yeah, she went after a cult alone. Holy, she literally crushed the cult alone. That's crazy. But yeah, yeah, no, that's just really. I mean, it's just Jesus. I mean, you just think about like the idea of the price is paid. Like you just think about like how much Marcy indulged in fantasy. It's like damn, like it's just I don't know. It's like I don't know how to perfectly put it into words, but it's just wow. It's just imagine if you knew about that theme before. Imagine if you just knew about like that whole theme before, like before Matt like sort of gave it away in that interview. Like imagine if you just have that in your eye, have that in your head, and you just realize how much Marcy has been enjoying yourself here carelessly, without any guilt. Like just I'm guessing she did have some guilt, but like just imagine, like you could only imagine what was waiting for you. Yeah.
And
Jesus, like, Jesus, like she was. I mean, by the time we met her, I mean, she was already doomed.
I mean, before she even went to Amphibia, she's going through a rough patch with her with her family moving away and being separated with her friends and stuff. Yeah, I don't really blame her for indulging in that fantasy because like I don't know, I just hmm, I just don't think it's fair to judge Marcy for all the bad actions she does. Even when she's just a kid facing a difficult decision, difficult change in her life. That's
Mm.
another thing. Like she's trying to run away from change, and that's understandable because change is pretty scary.
I feel like we're getting more into the like you're right, yeah. Like I just feel like we're getting more into the themes of like future episodes. I mean,
Yeah.
which is fair since we're covering this after True Colors.
Mm.
I just can't help myself. Just can't help
Yeah,
myself. I'm
yeah,
gonna like.
Yeah, like yeah, all of Marcy's
It just feels like. Oh, go ahead.
yeah, all of like Marcy's yeah, like it just like it's I don't want to say it's hard to look back at these episodes 'cause I still watch them, but it just it just makes you think, like with the way.
It makes you feel a little bit empty.
Yeah, because I won't lie. Like after True Colors, after watching it for the first time, like I couldn't even imagine myself being able to touch these episodes. Like Newtopia just felt tainted itself. Like before, it was like this majestic place that was so rewarding to get to, and now it's just this cursed, dangerous land I wanted nothing to do with anymore. You know, like it was just
At least though, by the end of
yeah, I don't know.
the series, I feel like that'll change. Like it's gonna be because like once Marcy like resolves all her stuff, and then it's like you at least know that she'll resolve. You'll know she'll be okay by the end. So it's like everything here is just like she has to go through the process.
I just hope that after by the end of this, she hasn't really. I guess my one hope is that she regains a little bit of her old self, while also implementing that in her new, while also implementing the new lessons that she learned as she moves forwards.
Yeah, I think yeah, I figure that'll be the major idea. Like she doesn't have to like let go of these things, but she can. I think she does. But yeah, she learns that she doesn't have to let go of these things, but like that she just have to embrace how things sort of change with life. I feel like that's going to be her whole thing. That's what I imagine for her. I mean, I don't know. She's just it's gonna be rough. It's gonna be rough for her. I mean, I'll say that.
It's crazy to be how freaking Marcy at the Gates is really like at first you thought this is just a happy episode, but in fact this is actually the start of a very tragic character arc.
Yeah, like it's just the start of a downfall because it's just Anne coming back to her is just it just reignites like the problems that just screwed her over originally. Like it's like that temptation. Like there's this sort of temptation of Anne being in her life again. You know what I mean? Like just
Yeah.
And then the
yeah,
sunrise is just
it's
the final straw. The
yeah, like that's
last step.
Yeah, the day at the aquarium.
yeah that's the point of no return for her at that point right there. Like that's yeah.
I think we
Like
can.
I still
Oh, go ahead, Nick.
oh sorry, go ahead. I mean, yeah, I was gonna say I still had canon that I know it would be like really cruel in context, but I still had canon that flipboard game they had right after like a day at the aquarium. I still had canon that as when Marcy spilled the beans about everything that happened. Like oh yeah, and also when oh wait, no, that was dumb. No. I still had canon that as when Andrews and the core chose her as a new host. Like I know it's cruel. Like Marcy spilling the beans and everything. Like basically like confiding in Andrews, trusting him. I know it's cruel to imagine that, but I still feel like that has to be the point. Like that has to be when they decided it or something. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think that was headcanon. I thought that was like canon with the way.
Yeah, that was canon too.
I remember. I mean, I brought that up, and I remember I tried to bring it up, but I was like shot down.
Anybody who says otherwise does not pay attention.
I mean, because like the way they like the first temple, like that's when Marcy brought up Flipboard,
Yeah.
and then
I mean,
like we
maybe
know
can just ignore the
yeah, and then we know like Marcy had like a shift in priorities after Anne left.
Yeah. I do believe at the day of the aquarium that's where she made the choice to make Anne, Sasha, and her stay in Amphibia so they could stick forever. Because before that, she was willing to go back home.
Yeah.
and plus. Oh wait, no, but did you guys like get what I mean before? Like when I was saying like it's also like the flipboard game where she finally beat Andrews or something.
Yeah,
I feel like
I mean that could happen too.
because I'm feeling like that would be the real connection here between this two. I mean, if I'm being honest, I don't really look at her theme song takeovers all that much because it's like it has like all those characters at the end that don't even matter, that don't even exist. So I could imagine like that really being the moment that cinches her in as the host. Like the sort of, it just feels like this point of no return to me, right? And like Marcy confiding in Andrews, like that was part of it, right? Like that was when he basically had all this power over her, when he could really manipulate her. Like that's and like yeah, when she was also chosen as a host, that was a point of no return for Mike. Like there was no backing out of that. Like they were gonna
Yeah,
force her to be a host either way. Like
Mhm.
so it just I just feel like these two things connect.
yeah. I think
Mhm.
we'll get more answers in the future
To the
episodes.
upcoming. Yeah, the final stretch.
But I think this is a good time to wrap up for today. I think I guess starting with Sunsfury, any final thoughts on March of the Gates that you wanted to bring up?
Oh, no, I'm feeling pretty good with everything that's been said so far.
All right, thank you, Sunsfury. Nick, any final thoughts?
Fantastic episode, and I guess I can't wait to start 3B. I mean, I guess this was a good episode.
All right, thank you, Nick. Lemur, any final thoughts?
I mean, before I said Marcy at the Gates is one of my favorite episodes of all time, and this discussion just made me love this episode even more. Yeah. This is a fantastic episode, one of the most important episodes of the whole show, and yeah, I am very, very, very interested on what's going to happen at the tail end of this arc for Marcy.
All right, thank you, Lemur. And yeah, I thought this was a fantastic episode. Did what I needed to do. Gave us a lot. Gave us a lot on Marcy. Overall, it was just a really great episode, especially with the teaser at the end and how this is the transition between the road trip to the Utopia arc. And that pretty much concludes today's episode. And that pretty much concludes our
Current run.
this puts our
Retrospectives.
coverage of season 2A on hold, and because next week is Escape to Utopia, and we saw we're getting we're getting 2 episodes in March, 5 in April, and then we'll get the last 2 in May, and we're going to because that's like an entire discussion. I'm going to have it in a separate recording just so it's easier to like digest. This isn't going to be like an 8-hour video on Victorious. But yeah, but I mean, just looking. I know a lot of people are saying, "Oh wow, that's so long," but it's like we talk about season 1 episodes for what, like an hour each. Really puts things into perspective of
I mean, hey, if the
how
episode is interesting, we will talk about it.
yeah, and we'll see you guys next time. That's all for today. Say goodbye, everyone.
You guys.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya.